for magazines and for newspapers that they read every day, 4.5 billion naira. Maintenance of vehicles and furniture, 17 billion naira. Training, which they don't have and which they don't give, 5 billion naira. Fuel and lubricants for cars and generators, 4 billion naira. A government that spends money on generator will never fix electricity supply in a nation because they rely on generator.
This subsidy issue that this government raised, they've just brought themselves out because we've now understood a lot of things we don't know.
If they revert back to 65 naira, that is what will move back to the negotiation table. That is when we will tell them that enough of 1 billion naira for feeding allowance in a year. That is when we want to say to them that enough of 320 million naira for kitchen utensils. That is when we want to say to Senator David Mark that enough of 88 million naira in a year. Before dialogue, they should first of all revert back to 65 naira. We are not saying compromise.
War and conflicts will only bring suffering and hunger. Africa for Africa. African leaders must bring us together. Africa for Africa.
Today people say no. They say no to 140. No to 150.
We must work with the government. We must work with the government.
Also being a part of this event, likened to Egypt's Tahrir Square, was a thing of pride for many, as they felt the quest for good governance and an end to corruption was a cause worth fighting for and didn't need to be paid or cajoled to show up. While others basked in the fun, there were those who didn't see any reason to laugh at all.
When they came to Obandena, all of us were, I'm sitting down with this brother, a brother of mine, I was set with him. Police started while they are shooting target terrors up here and there. Before you could know it, I know the guy that shot him. He just aimed him straight on his forehead.
The event before them was an opportunity to make or mar.
This is a call and a struggle and a fight for every Nigerian who is called upon to bear the brunt of this decision.
This protest continues, this fight continues, and until victory is won, there is no going back.
While the Occupy Nigeria group continued to occupy, the group that made this atmosphere permissible performed their daily ritual of marching along the streets while their leaders negotiated with the government. While it seemed there was no end in sight on the fifth day, the announcement of a two-day break to allow labor meet and protesters rest was their undoing.
If they fail to meet the aspiration of the people, chances are that we're beginning to radicalize our demand by asking for 45 naira per liter, which was where it was before they got to 65. The reason being that the justification that they gave us as a condition for pushing it to 65 was a total fraud.
From that point, the anticlimax set in, but not forever.
It is is 65 or nothing.
It's not easy. What you are facing today.
This protest continues, this strike continues, and until victory is won, there is no going back.
Some could not wait to get back to continue the fight for freedom.
Solidarity forever. We shall always fight for our right.
People like Martin Luther paid price for Americans that are joining today. So there's no big deal about it. By next week, Sunday, we'll be ready to march to Ojota and we'll stay there.
Feeding, water, we provide everything for ourselves in this country. How are we supposed to fund this increase?
Friday the 13th, however, was to be their last. The atmosphere to continue was denied them as the NLC announced the suspension of the strike on the 16th and an acceptance of 97 naira per litre from the government.
After consideration and consultations with state governors and the leadership of the National Assembly, government has approved the reduction of the pump price of petrol to 97 naira per litre.
But not before the government deployed armed troops to man the Freedom Park the moment protesters left in order to prevent further demonstrations. With this very action, the once vibrant Freedom Park returned to status quo. Free of its fighters, the people felt betrayed.
Labour always betrays the people. Are you surprised? When has Labour ever stood to the end of any struggle?
Now, whether this protest, whether they will reconvene a protest here, cannot be ascertained for now. Guess we spoke too soon, as just a few meters away, protesters were beginning to gather, attempting to make their way to the park, defying military presence. A few kilometers away, a civil society group attempted the same, until the soldiers showed the unarmed protesters they were battle ready. With this development, the possibility of continuing the fight to liberate the country from corruption looked slim, but not without a try. The suspension of the gathering by the Save Nigeria group, later slated for Saturday the 21st, probably owing to security reasons, also seemed to have a lot of people raises questions. It is overplaying the situation. Nigerians were for the cause they set out to achieve. Were the civil society groups clear on what their demands really were, or were the demands so intertwined with that of Labour, thereby stalling a continuation after the NLC suspended their strike? Were the groups really prepared for this turnout with the means on how to sustain them till the very end? Were Nigerians really prepared for the worst in their fight towards attaining freedom? Although they did not get to their desired end, some say all was not lost. This may be true, as days later, a probe into dealings in the oil sector ensued. Now, how much this would achieve cannot be ascertained. While many still await palliatives from the government, there's no denying the likelihood of a further increase in petrol price by this government or subsequent administrations. Now, this also makes one wonder. With the unprecedented protests and gatherings, the turn of events as the protests sought to reach its peak, and the resistance put up by government and protesters, will this be a historic event many will only talk about? Or can the suppressed, budding Nigerian Hamilton protest ever recur in Nigeria's history? I'm Oni Sunday. Thank you for watching.
It is 65 or nothing.
It's not easy. What you are facing today.
This protest continues, this strike continues, and until victory is won, there is no going back.